She said, "Water is the driving force of all nature." Water is also a central element of and catalytic force for the transformation of agri-food systems and the foundation for food security. Water is also key for sustainable development and a fundamental human right. Good afternoon to all of you joining us online and here in the audience in Geneva, and a special appreciation to our esteemed speakers with us today. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the Regional Overview of Food Security and Nutrition in Europe and Central Asia, the 2024 report. My name is Mary Kenny. I am a Food Safety and Consumer Protection Officer at FAO, and I'm pleased to be your moderator today. As we unveil today's report, let me highlight that the first part of the report provides the latest insights and evidence on food insecurity and nutrition across the region, illustrating progress but also challenges that countries face, including the triple burden of malnutrition. While the second part of the report covers the crucial issue of water, addressing a range of issues and diverse themes, resulting from a truly collaborative joint effort by the UN agencies, FAO, IFAD, UNICEF, UNDP, UNECE, WHO, and WMO, all members of the regional UN issue-based coalition on sustainable food systems for Europe and Central Asia. As we go through the event today, I urge us all to consider some key questions. How can we build a water-secure, food-secure future? How can we work together to make agri-food systems more resilient? And most importantly, how do we turn these insights into action? I'm sure we'll find further and deeper answers to these questions today. Before we get started, just a small practical note for those of you here in the room. We will be taking some photos, so in case you do not wish to be part of the photos, you can kindly let us know. So let's get started. It's my great pleasure now to give the floor to Viorel Gutu, FAO Assistant Director General and Regional Representative for Europe and Central Asia, for his opening remarks. Viorel, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dear partners, colleagues, participants of today's event, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all at this event, both in the room and virtually. And it is an honor and a pleasure also for me to open this launch of the 2024 Regional Overview of Food Security and Nutrition in Europe and Central Asia. As already mentioned, the theme of this year's report is managing water resources sustainably for improved food security and nutrition. This is the first time this event is organized here in Geneva on the sidelines of the Regional Sustainable Development Forum. As the issue of food security and food systems is one of the 6 transformations to accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals, I think this is exactly the right place. I'd like to thank and acknowledge the strong and fruitful work of the issue-based coalition on sustainable food systems for Europe and Central Asia that has resulted in this publication. This is also a great sign of a collective effort of UN agencies in the region. I am glad to say that with the 2024 edition, there is also some good news coming out of the report. The new estimates confirm that the prevalence of hunger is relatively low at the country level in Europe and Central Asia, compared with the world average. And across the region, recent data show that there has been a slight decrease in moderate or severe food insecurity. Yet, this is just one element of the bigger picture, which will be presented in greater details soon by my colleagues. Despite the positive trends, there is still some effort required for improvement. We need comprehensive, efficient, and targeted interventions to enhance the food security and nutrition of the people in this region. And we need to embed these actions into the much wider process of transforming our agri-food systems to ensure that they are more efficient, equitable, and resilient. Going forward, this is a great challenge, but it also gives us opportunities. With just 5 years left to achieve the ambitious goals of the 2030 Agenda, we must step up our efforts. I hope this report will provide you guidance and inspiration along this road. Let me also mention in this context the regional preparatory meeting for the UN Food System Stocktake +4, which will be convened here in Geneva tomorrow, also on Friday, organized by the United Nations Food Systems Coordination Hub in collaboration with UNECE and the Issue-Based Coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now turn to the technical topic of this year's edition, key water security issues. The major water security challenges in the Europe and Central Asia region are increasing water scarcity, aging infrastructure, climate change impacts, pollution, weak governance, and gaps in data availability. Climate change has both environmental and human impacts. Projections indicate declining water resources and variability in precipitation patterns, glaciers melt, and more frequent and prolonged droughts. These are taking a growing toll on agriculture, especially on farmers, and claiming damage of more than $14 billion across the region. Over 20% of Europe's water resources are affected by pollution, undermining food safety and human health. Agriculture is often a contributor to this, mainly through fertilizer and pesticide runoff. Ensuring adequate water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure is also critical to food security, particularly in rural areas. The rising demand for water has exacerbated water scarcity across the region. Several countries across Europe and Central Asia rely heavily on transboundary water sources for energy and irrigation, requiring complex water resources management. We have identified the issues. What can we do to resolve them? Closing water's supply-demand gap requires conservation, recycling, and reuse. Countries may need to enhance their agri-food sector strategies to improve water efficiency and explore unconventional or underutilized sources such as desalination and groundwater. In highly water-stressed nations, nature-based solutions may be essential. Reducing agriculture's water footprint by prioritizing efficient crops over livestock and utilizing climate-friendly production methods can enhance sustainability. Furthermore, strengthen cooperation and coordination at the institutional, national, and international levels and across sectors are critical for increasing the efficiency of water resources management. This also requires improved monitoring and early warning systems, as well as the exchange of data and proven solutions. Today, we will have an exchange on this and other issues and data raised in the 2024 Regional Overview of Food Security and Nutrition in Europe and Central Asia. I know it will be insightful and fruitful for our work ahead. Again, let me extend my sincere gratitude to all our partners for our invaluable collaboration in preparing this report and also the event, and looking forward to our very close cooperation in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much again, VRL. And I'm pleased now that we are going to have a short video. The team have put together a short video to capture some of the highlights from this year's report. And for those of you in the room, we need to listen to it through the headset, please. Let's look at the video. Thank you.
In Europe and Central Asia, securing food and nutrition for all remains a challenge. The region faces ongoing threats in food security and nutrition, intensified by the continuing war in Ukraine, natural disasters, and climate change. The 2024 Regional Overview of Food Security and Nutrition in Europe and Central Asia is a joint product, led by FAO with contributions by the United Nations agencies forming the issue-based Coalition on Sustainable Food Systems in Europe and Central Asia. This edition places a special emphasis on sustainable water management and its interlinkages with food security and nutrition.
Water security plays a decisive role in ensuring food and nutrition security across our region. Water scarcity seriously affects agricultural productivity, highlighting severe disparity between the advanced infrastructure in the European countries and the challenges faced in arid areas of Central Asia and the Caucasus. Effective water management is also crucial for safe food production and processing, as it prevents contamination within the food chain that hinders nutrient absorption. So it is very important for promoting healthy nutrition.
As the report highlights, clean water and proper sanitation are critical to public health and food safety. However, uneven access across the region considerably affects health and nutrition, pointing to an urgent need for upgrades in water and sanitation facilities. Achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 remains problematic. Although severe food insecurity has slightly declined in 2023, it remains alarmingly high, affecting 107.2 million people. Even though the hunger rates are below 2.5%, the region continues to face a triple burden of malnutrition, undernutrition, micronutrition deficiencies, and overweight or obesity. Child malnutrition has seen declines in stunting and wasting, yet obesity continues to rise, affecting both adults and children. According to the latest figures, 22.6% of adults in the region were obese, surpassing global averages. This situation calls for targeted interventions in the area of nutrition, particularly for youth, women, and other vulnerable groups. Despite a reduction in the number of people unable to afford a healthy diet, the cost of a healthy diet remains prohibitive for many, exacerbated by socioeconomic disparities and post-pandemic economic impacts. The 2024 Regional Overview emphasizes the role of sustainable water management in improving food security and nutrition. It highlights how significant variation in water security across the region affects food production. In areas with advanced infrastructure, sustainable agriculture is already feasible today, while in arid parts of Central Asia and the Caucasus and Southern Europe, inadequate water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure further intensifies existing challenges to food security. We must urgently act to create resilient and adaptable agri-food systems that are key to ensuring water and food security. Innovations in technology, such as advanced irrigation technologies and sustainable farming practices, are key to improving water efficiency, water quality, and boosting food production, ensuring accessible, nutritious, and affordable diets.
Collaboration across all levels, governmental, regional, and local, is essential to developing strategies and implement actions that address the various needs of our diverse region. With reference to the Regional Overview of Food Security and Nutrition for 2024, we focused on adequate water access and sufficient quality for food production, which are an important part of sustainable agri-food systems. Strengthening policies, legal frameworks, and again, collaboration is essential to ensure food security for everyone and manage a key natural resource needed for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and better life, leaving no one behind.
Together, we can eliminate hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition in all its forms for all.
Thank you. Indeed, if you want to watch back this video or share it with colleagues, you can access it on the FAO regional website. And the complete publication has also been published now just in the last half hour in English and Russian, also available on the regional FAO website. So it's a great pleasure and honor that we are joined today by Tamara Nanitishvili, our FAO Senior Policy Officer and lead author of the report, And Tamara, no better person than you to really take a deeper dive into more detail on the key findings and learnings from this joint collaborative report. Thank you, Tamara.
If I could have the, yeah, okay, great. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and colleagues. I am presenting the findings of the Regional Overview 2024 of Food Security and Nutrition for Europe and Central Asia. And it consists of two parts. One is SDG 2 indicators, the monitoring and the results, and part 2 is about water. As already mentioned, managing water resources sustainably for better food security and nutrition. If we move to the first slide. So what are the main findings related to part 1 of SDG 2 monitoring results: hunger, food insecurity, malnutrition, and access to healthy diets? There are several indicators that we monitor every year, and it includes hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition, and also access to healthy diets, which is essential for reducing all these three major indicators of SDG 2. So what do we find this year is that undernourishment, which is a prevalence of undernourishment, which is a measure of hunger, is low, and it's lasted for more than a decade in most ECA sub-regions. ECA, I mean Europe and Central Asia sub-regions, but of course it varies by countries. For the food insecurity, we have moderate or severe food insecurity, which we measure using FAO indicator, FIAS, and we see that it increased since the pre-pandemic period. I will discuss it later. It's 88 million in 2019, while now it's 107.2 million. Severe food insecurity also increased in the region in 2023, and it's 2.6% of people who are suffering from severe food insecurity. That's 24.5 million, and it's of course it's higher than before the COVID. But surprisingly, women fared better than men in severe food insecurity. When it comes to access to healthy diets, which is very important for having nutrition levels low, and as well as food security and hunger low, we see that there is increase in incomes and there is decrease in the accessibility. So it's basically 6.2 million people less than in 2021 could access healthy diets. And this is equivalent to about 6.9% of people in the region. And in 2021, it was 7.6%. When it comes to nutrition, stunting and wasting in children under 5, where it's monitored, has improved and remains below global estimates. Overweight in children under 5 is above the global estimate. It's more than double of the 2030 global target. Anemia in women, these are all SDG indicators. SDG 2.2, it's anemia in women 15 to 49 years has worsened since 2012, which is a baseline year for measuring this, and it is below the world average. However, on the negative side, we have adult obesity in ECA region, which is over 20%, and it exceeds the global average. Exclusive breastfeeding data improved. And low birth weight prevalence declined. These are additional indicators that we monitor, and this data is monitored by actually our colleagues from UNICEF and WHO. If we move to next slide, please. As mentioned, hunger is remained below 2.5%, and therefore is not estimated for the region. However, it's estimated at sub-regional level. Currently, we have only Central Asia who has 3% of the hunger, but there are some countries which exceed even 3%. For example, Tajikistan, followed by Kyrgyzstan, and Ukraine, and you see these trends in graphs starting from 2000. Next slide, please. The prevalence of food insecurity, as mentioned, has slightly declined, but is still significantly above pre-pandemic levels. And especially we see some increases in sub-regional level. We have some increase in the Caucasus, CIS, Europe, and Ukraine, in European Free Trade Association countries, and the EU27 and UK countries. While some ECA sub-regions saw declines. Moderate and severe or severe food insecurity, as well as severe food insecurity, were lower than the world averages, which are equivalent to 28.9% and 10.7% respectively. This is at global level. Next slide, please. We have nutrition indicators, which are all presented in these graphs. And there are sorry, these are the indicators that I already mentioned, and the comparing from left to right, regional and global. So we see that stunting, wasting, anemia, and low birth weight are all below the world average, but overweight and adult obesity are above the world average. And especially we have good results on stunting and wasting, which are dropping quite significantly from the previous period, but and they are performing well. But unfortunately, we don't have estimations of the Europe and Central Asia for wasting, because there are not all countries, not a long-term estimations. But the recent one we have here is very low, 1.4%. Next slide, please. Part 2, it's water resources. These are all about for SDG 2 indicators monitoring, and part 2 is water resources. And we chose this subject because of importance of water in today's political and development agenda. Next slide, please. So what is the connection between water, food security, and nutrition? Of course, water is essential for achieving SDG 2, and water security is SDG 6, and SDG 2 is agriculture, food security, and nutrition. Obviously, we know that land and water degradation harm food production and livelihoods and demand urgent policy action. Lack of wash access and outdated infrastructure or practices also affect nutrition and cause higher mortality in some regions, sub-regions and districts, especially in Central Asia and the Caucasus. Rising dietary energy supply also attributes to the association between these indicators, because if we have increased demand for more water-intensive products, then of course the demand for water increases. EU countries are most water secure, and Central Asia is the least water secure. Next slide, please. I will rush through because these are the main water security challenges that we identified, that Viorel also mentioned. It's increasing water scarcity, deteriorating water infrastructure, increasing impacts of climate variability and change, progressing water pollution, weak water governance and complex nature of transboundary water cooperation, and water data availability and quality. Next slide, please. So water security challenges, if we go into details, which I don't think we have enough time for that, we have mostly it's Central Asia, water stress, and Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey, which experience increased water stress, while some countries experience less stress because of population dynamics. Highly water-stressed countries have high water agricultural water withdrawal ratios and lower agricultural water use efficiency. Outdated infrastructure is very important for this region, especially in, again, Central Asia, the Caucasus, and the Western Balkans that increase, that mostly rehabilitate the irrigation canals to reduce water stress, while EU removes the outdated dams for ecological benefits. Next slide, please. Climate variability is already mentioned also by Viorel. It costs millions, affects millions and costs billions.
Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan are among the 10 countries most vulnerable to climate change. Water pollution is also very important because it affects both food security and nutrition through food safety, and untreated and inadequately treated wastewater comes from agricultural fields, mining activities, and other dwellings without sewage facilities. Next slide, please. So water governance is a most important part of this analysis, and we see that 16 ECA countries need better water governance in terms of policies, in terms of coordination, in terms of reforms that they need to implement. There are some reforms that some countries implement, especially in the Caucasus and Central Asia. They implement strategies, but the more better coordination is needed, and also, of course, capacity building is very important. There is high transboundary water dependency in some countries, especially in Azerbaijan, Moldova, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan, which complicates the management of water resources. And the proportion of transboundary water bodies in Europe is higher than in any other region. The strength of transboundary cooperation varies between none, so there is lack of transboundary cooperation, for example, between Russia and Georgia, and to full in the case of Danube River. So what needs to be done? Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, of course, to enhance water conservation, recycling, and reuse, this is to close the water supply demand gap, explore the potential for unconventional and underutilized water supply options, and consider sustainable use of groundwater, which is underutilized, especially in Central Asian countries. It's only up to 20 to 30%. Water-scarce economies usually reduce agricultural water footprint by prioritizing efficient crops and importing water-intensive commodities, which should be the case for these economies, while water-abundant economies, they import water-intensive, they export water-intensive commodities. The last slide, please. So we need to improve water use efficiency in the region, especially in the countries where we see that which are most water insecure. We need to improve water data quality, sharing and reporting, especially in Central Asia and the Caucasus. And of course, improve institutional collaboration, policy alignment, and integrating water into land use management, planning, supporting small farmers is very crucial for the region, especially considering that small-scale farmers dominate the agriculture in this region, and of course ensuring community participation, which is especially for placing more role to women and their contribution to the management of the water resources at community level. I think I reached the end. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Tamara, and our congratulations again to you and to all the contributors to the flagship publication. In the next section of our event today, we will have a panel discussion focusing on the water resources in Europe and Central Asia, so part 2 of the report. And we will have some deeper real-life perspectives on water for life and water for nutrition. I would like to invite our distinguished speakers to join us here on the table, the panel. Please, Nafel Telehig, Regional Director ad interim for Near East, North Africa, Europe and Central Asian Division of IFAD. Cornelia Radic, Director of WMO's Regional Office for Europe. And Marco Keiner, Director of UNECE's Environment Division. All with us here in the room. You're very welcome. And to join us then online, we also have Steliana Nadera, Director of UNDP's Istanbul Regional Hub, Gabriele Fontana, Regional Health Advisor from UNICEF, and Oliver Schmoll, WHO Program Manager on Water and Climate, joining us from Bonn. You're all very welcome online as well. So for our opening of the panel, let me turn first to you, Nafal Telehig from IFAD, and we know that IFAD is supporting quite a lot of investment in solutions to improve access to water. So could you tell us a bit about how investment in water management and irrigation has contributed to enhancing agricultural productivity, resilience to climate change, and led to economic opportunities, particularly for women and youth? And if you have any successful examples from our region you'd like to share. Thank you, Nafal.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased to be representing IFAD and be with you here today. And I would like also to thank the colleagues who have put together this regional overview of the food security and nutrition for 2024. It's an excellent outcome, and I think there are very good conclusions and recommendations in that report that will be very useful for organizations like IFAD. So I would like to start maybe a very general introduction, what IFAD does. IFAD, of course, is an IFI, is a UN agency as well. So most of our interventions are really channeled through the sovereign lending. And in that package, we also mobilize actors to co-finance. Some of it is also coming from the SF funding, some grant funding, some climate finance. So IFAD is also an agency of the Adaptation Fund, the GEF, the GCF, all the big donors in terms of climate finance. So in essence, we are an assembler of finance, and for each dollar we get from our donors, IFAD is able to mobilize between $6 and $7 in the ground and turn them into investment. And most of that is also going to agriculture productivity and to water, and I'll come to that later on. In terms of ongoing portfolio in the region and the ECA region of IFAD, we have an total investment of $1 billion at the moment. That is through 9 projects. 50 million of grant in terms of climate finance is also being programmed and implemented in the ground. And large part of this goes, of course, to agriculture productivity and to rural infrastructure, especially the irrigation infrastructure, because the demand is increasing, given the climate change impact on production systems and demands from government and local communities. So as highlighted in the report, I think there is a very strong link between better water management, sustainable water management, and sustainability of the food systems themselves and the nutrition outcomes of that production and food systems. And IFAD really gives a very particular attention to this. So IFAD is committed to tackle this link and through the projects, through its policies, through its engagement on the ground. And you know, IFAD president is the chair of the UN Water as well, and that gives really a strong strong commitment to issues in terms of water management. We also looking now into the region. I believe that we saw from the report that the region has really done significant progress in terms of food security and nutrition, but we are aware that there are still some gaps in terms of adapting the local systems. Farmers are facing increasing impacts of climate change, water insecurity. So the reality in the ground is still also challenging. You asked me, Mary, to give some examples. I would like to share 3 of them. One project is still ongoing in Moldova, and that's the Talent Retention for Rural Transformation Project, TRTP, which was initially designed to address the out-migration of rural young people from the rural communities to the cities, and to create jobs, opportunities to engage women, also rural women, in economic activities. So the project has created specific credit line, which basically affordable credit line for these groups, women and youth. The idea was also to use this credit line to improve agricultural productivity as well, and to engage the youth of the rural communities to engage in agribusiness entrepreneurships they become. So through this loan, I think 5,000 farmers were targeted, and 2,000 of them were women, and 2,000 were young entrepreneurs. And if you look at the portfolio of the loans that were distributed, 68% went to production, livestock and crop mainly. So it's tree production, fruit production mostly. And that also opened the door for more processing down the line in the value chain. which has helped create jobs. The center of this is water, of course, and as we say, water is the best fertilizer or the first fertilizer. So I think it was the case here because we invested in improving the infrastructure, in training the farmers in terms of efficient use of water and irrigation. And if you look at agriculture by nature is an intensive, knowledge-intensive sector. It's very difficult agriculture at the end of the day. If you look at it, between someone who's producing food and someone producing something else, electronics or shoes or whatever, it's much easier than agriculture. Agriculture is very, very complex, and it's really, as I said, knowledge-intensive business, so training is a major component here. Awareness raising was also a part of this project, and I think we managed to improve the production systems, make them more resilient and sustainable. I have a second example, and very quickly, from Armenia. And in fact, I worked on this project as a country director. So I was a country director for Armenia, so I know it very well. And we did this project with colleagues from IFAD co-financing. I think it was about $50 million of investment. It has two solid components. One was rural finance, and the second was irrigation. Same configuration, more or less. And it shows how these two, they work together. So investment with water, I think it's needed. When you offer this rural finance, you offer also sustainability, if it's working, of course. So in Armenia, we had the rural finance facility, and we have an equity investment. It was equity, mid-Zanian also, and subordinate loans that we had given to some SMEs in the country. Through this investment, we managed to reach 8,500 households, which gained access to irrigation. And we have to modernize the irrigation systems because some of them were not sustainable anymore. We had to align the canals, etc. So there was a lot of investment in the ground that was done. 14,000 people had access to drinking water in the rural communities of Armenia, and that has transformed also the processing. I think I heard colleagues presenting the link, maybe it was in the video, the link between good water, quality of water and good processing also, and hygiene of the food system, and that was the case really in Armenia. Then let me finish with the last example. I know I have only 3 minutes. So Turkey, the Murat River Watershed Rehabilitation Project. This was more looking to the watershed, so the upland, the lowland communities. It was more focusing on how to engage the rural community in environmental protection, afforestation, erosion control, and small-scale irrigation, how to make it more sustainable. As a result, farmers were able to cope with drought and with changing climate patterns. The production calendar is no longer the same, so people managed to adapt. And in this context, we managed to reduce food insecurity for more than 20,000 households. This project closed with very good results in terms of food security and sustainability and work between the upland and the lowland communities. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Naufal. I think your examples really do bring the real-life colour and show the cross-cutting nature, if you want to say, of water to many different aspects of livelihoods, quality and water quality and processing, etc. Let me turn now to our online panel member, Steliana Nadera from UNDP. We know that UNDP is also working with many countries to address the challenges related to water conservation and food security. So a short point with you, Steliana, but what are some of the long-term benefits that you have seen from modern irrigation techniques regarding water and food security? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the question, distinguished colleagues. It is really a pleasure to be part of this conversation and join the launch of this year's overview. It is truly a demonstration of the strengths of the IBC, of our coalition of agencies that work together on joint issues. In terms of the long-term benefits of modern irrigation techniques, building on what the colleague from IFAD presented just before me, it is indeed very clear that there is an urgency in rolling out at larger scale and faster capabilities in agri-food systems to apply modern technologies for water use in terms of drip irrigation, but also irrigation techniques informed by digital solutions and AI. This is definitely important for the purpose of sustainable production, but also ensuring livelihoods of communities and the people that are particularly affected by water scarcity, and in the context of climate change acceleration, the water stress is particularly visible as in Central Asia, as we have heard. We believe that applying modern solutions in agri-food systems in terms of irrigation is a transformational solution. And it connects to so many other actions in the communities. We have applied such solutions, for example, in Azerbaijan, the Kura 2 projects piloted drip irrigation in Sadli, where we already saw 30% of water savings and a 20% increase in yields per cubic meter of water very quickly after the project started. These are clear examples of how innovation can increase productivity while conserving scarce water resources. We apply similar approaches to efficient water use in other projects in other countries where we support agribusiness, agriculture, community development, area-based development. So we're trying to combine different solutions in the communities, drawing on all our portfolios of work and program. When we pair such solutions with sustainable water governance, it's important because it reduces pressure on ecosystems and enables more equitable water access, particularly for smallholder farmers and for women. We're also supporting countries across the region to adopt integrated water strategies that build in irrigation innovation with broader solutions. For example, nature-based solutions that lead to watershed rehabilitation. In Uzbekistan and other Central Asia countries facing water scarcity, we're helping farmers transition to climate-smart irrigation. We're also supporting at national level efforts to reconcile water use in agriculture with protection of natural ecosystems, like the RLC last remaining lakes and wetlands. We're working to also strengthen water users associations and public utility companies that are managing water in the communities, so that the communities are more involved in managing local resources and managing them efficiently, understanding the real cost of the water. Our third pillar is policy coherence and policy synergies across agriculture, water, climate, and biodiversity, where we look at irrigation improvements and water and land integrated measures to link them to national adaptation plans, national biodiversity plans, and supporting food system transformation roadmaps. We are proud to be a member of the issue-based coalition on sustainable food systems, and we are bringing to the table development-focused perspective, but also solutions from different areas which help us to bridge governance, environment, food systems, and livelihoods. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. I hope this event will help us raise greater intake of different type of measures that would help us to strengthen the management of water and also leading towards better, more sustainable food systems and better nutrition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steliana Nadera. Thank you for joining us and staying with us. I want to turn now to Cornelia Radic and from WMO and on the important issue of data and evidence, which we know is essential to drive improvements in water governance. And so, given the importance of improving water management, Cornelia, could you share some insights on how WMO's collaborative efforts in the region are enhancing food security and resilience? And we know that your organization has a number of data platforms, WOOS and Hydro SOS, which are key also for supporting information and data on hydrological status. So you may, if time allows, give us some insights on how they support countries in the region. Thank you, Cornelia.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. It is my great pleasure to be here today, and thank you very much for the opportunity to address you and answer this question and to contribute to this important gathering. First of all, I would like to congratulate to all contributors to the launch of the SOFI report. World Meteorological Organization is really proud to be part of this great initiative that highlights the critical intersection between water, food security, and nutrition. Addressing your question on water management and resilience, WMO collaborative efforts are aimed to improving water management, particularly in face of climate variability and shared water challenges. In this regard, WMO is collaborating with the International River Basin Commissions, such as for Danube River or Rhine or Sava. These basins, which span multiple countries, face risks such as flooding, drought, and water scarcity. The collaborative approach in this region is essential for ensuring sustainable water use, and WM is actively engaged in supporting these initiatives through technical assistance, tools, and data sharing platforms. Through a partnership with the mentioned International River Basin Commission and also with the National Hydrological and Meteorological Services, WMO helps ensure that water management strategies are coordinated and responsive to regional needs. WMO is working with local stakeholders also and also authorities to improve water forecasting, monitoring, and the management of the surface and groundwater resources. By providing reliable hydrological data and forecast, we enable decision makers to better manage water resources. Now, to address the second part of your questions, let me introduce two initiatives from WMO side. The first is the Hydro SOS, the Hydrological Status and Outlook System, which plays a critical role in providing real-time assessment of water availability, including surface water, groundwater, and soil moisture. This system offers timely information on how water resources are changing, helping countries and stakeholders understand the future trends. By providing data and forecast on a sub-seasonal to seasonal scale, Hydro SOS is designed to support decision-making related to water resource management. In addition, we have the so-called HOOS, the Hydrological Observing System, which helps ensure the interoperability and sharing of water data across countries and regions. WHOOS supports the exchange of hydrological data, and not only data but metadata, making it easier for stakeholders to access accurate, timely, and standardized water data. This system enhances cooperation between countries, facilitating data sharing across borders and improving collective water management efforts. By facilitating the exchange of this hydrological data and using systems like I mentioned earlier, Hydro SOS and WHOOS, WM is helping countries achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 6, the clean water and sanitation, and SDG 13, the climate action. And as reliable data is essential for governments and organizations to implement effective water management policies and ensure the sustainability of water resources, these efforts help enhance resilience to climate impacts, improve food security, and support the long-term sustainability of water resources, which are crucial for food protection and for overall human well-being. Thank you very much, and congratulations again for this event.
Thank you. Thank you, Cornelia, and thanks again for the support from WMO as well as other partners. Cornelia, you mentioned the need for a collaborative approach, and I know that this is also an area where UNECE is quite engaged, and so I'm very pleased to turn the attention now to you, Mr. Marco Keiner. We know that many ECA countries are parties to several UNECE conventions. So over to you to explain to us the role of legal and institutional frameworks, such as the UNECE Water Convention, in promoting international cooperation among riparian parties. How does the convention help address challenges related to water, food, energy, ecosystems nexus? Thank you, Marco.
Thank you, Mary. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Your question is almost longer than my answer. Everything has been said on the problems already, but Tamara also highlighted the need to, she asked what needs to be done, and she said, yeah, high transboundary water dependency needs to be addressed. And Cornelia mentioned river basin commissions. And here I can come in with the convention, the Water Convention. Its long name is Convention on the Protection and Use of Transboundary Watercourses and International Lakes. And we are happy to service this convention, which is a unique global legal instrument. It's intergovernmental, and as said, it addresses the transboundary aspect. It's about water quality and quantity for drinking water, irrigation water, whatever is needed. But also in a more holistic context, it also promotes sustainable development and ultimately peace and resilience to disasters. As of today, the Water Convention has 55 parties. The number is increasing all the time because now, as it's opened globally, also African states want to benefit from it, and with it to address the challenges related to food security and nutrition. Maybe you knew or didn't know that over 60% of global freshwater flows across borders. So it's important to address this issue. And without cooperation, climate shocks, water scarcity, and food insecurity can trigger even more regional instability. And this is where the Water Convention comes in, because it supports countries in developing joint institutions, like, for example, the river basin commissions, but also data exchange. The importance of that has been highlighted by Steliana already. And also early warning systems, and also climate resilient water allocation mechanisms. These all are crucial for nutrition-sensitive water governance. Now, to give you just some examples on the success, in Central Asia, the convention has supported cooperation in key basins like the Chu Talas, and helped also improving groundwater governance, which supports millions of farmers. In Africa, it's outside your region, but let me mention it because it's very important. We also, the convention also catalyzes cooperation in the Lake Chad Basin and also in the Senegal River, with clear implications for rural food security. Now, all that, what I said, I think it's encouraging. But nevertheless, we must scale up the implementation of transboundary water cooperation in order to meet SDG 2 on zero hunger and also the SDG 6 on clean water and sanitation. And needless to say that ECE stands ready to further support our parties through legal tools, technical support, and a multi-stakeholder platform to align water governance with food system transition. And finally, let us remember, no food without water, no peace without cooperation. The Water Convention offers a proven framework to turn shared waters into shared prosperity. Now, last but not least, I would like to thank FAO and to commend you, congratulate you on the excellent movie that I will share with everyone who is interested. The excellent cooperation we had on this report in our work on the water, food, energy ecosystem nexus, and among others on a GEF project in Central Asia. And also all the other partners I would like to thank here on the panel. It's all about giving people together as the bigger UN family the best possible access to safe drinking water and water for food production. And I think the report we launched today is a milestone for achieving this. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. And we all look forward to the continuing collaboration as well. And this includes also with UNICEF, our next panel member, Gabriele Fontana, Regional Health Advisor from UNICEF. Please, it would be great to hear from UNICEF's perspective on some short or long-term solutions you have been working on to restore and protect water systems and allow access to clean water in conflict-affected areas in our region. Gabriele, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mary. I hope you can hear me fine there.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. Thanks.
Perfect. Dear colleagues, unfortunately, due to other commitments and some issues with logistics, I could not be with you in person. Nonetheless, it's a pleasure to be part of this panel today at the launch of the State of the Food Security and Nutrition in Europe and Central Asia 2024, which I look at as an important result of a great collaborative efforts across UN agencies. Coming to your question, the link between water, sanitation, and nutrition is profound, particularly for children. A study published recently in the Lancet Global Health confirmed that a community-led sanitation intervention can reduce stunting by 14% among children under 5 years of age, and even up to 17% in children under 2. Safe water is essential, not just for hydration, but for food preparation, hygiene, and the proper absorption of nutrients. We all know that with no water, there is no life. We also need to remember that with no safe water, there is no health, development, or well-being for children. In Ukraine, where the conflict has severely damaged critical water infrastructure, children's nutrition status is directly threatened by compromised water systems. In fact, damages to the wash infrastructure have reached $4.6 billion. Almost 10 million Ukrainians, many being children, required urgent water and sanitation assistance in 2024. 3.4 million children lack access to centralized wastewater collection and treatment, and 1.7 million children lack access to safety managed water services. Coming to UNICEF action, in Ukraine, like in most emergency responses, UNICEF implements a child-centered wash strategy, both addressing immediate needs and building long-term resilience. The immediate emergency response includes supporting emergency energy solutions for water utilities under constant attack, ensuring that children have access to safe water, working directly with vodocanals, the water utilities, to restore services essential for child health and nutrition, delivering life-saving supplies to meet critical child-specific needs, water tanks, purification tablets, hygiene kits, supporting emergency repairs or damaged water utilities serving schools, healthcare facilities, and community centers, including in the shelters. To do so, we are currently implementing 87 projects across 17 oblasts, supporting over 4.5 million people, including children in Ukraine. Now, on the other hand, when we think of recovery, system strengthening, and resilience building, some of the activities include leading comprehensive water quality initiatives directly linked to children's health outcomes, such as co-developing a national information analytical platform for water quality monitoring with the Ministry of Development, and supporting key programs to address the sector's financial crisis and ensure sustainable services, such as solar energy integration to provide resilience against energy infrastructure attacks and support green recovery. Beyond that, something unique to the Ukraine context is the opportunity provided by the EU integration pathway, supporting key reforms at national level for water quality monitoring, energy, water savings, and water governance, and driving child-focused policy reforms with technical assistance to government ministries aligned with Ukraine's government. These also encompass an approach that is always essential for UNICEF, that is integrating youth voices in water and climate action through Upshift programs and the Young People Advisory Board. In conclusion, the war in Ukraine has illustrated the inextricable link between water, quality, nutrition, and child development. When children lack access to safe water, their nutritional status suffers, compromising growth, cognitive development, and immunity. UNICEF comprehensive approach in Ukraine addresses immediate humanitarian needs while building more resilient water systems that safeguard children's nutrition and health. By supporting the government and collaborating with partners on both emergency response and long-term system transformation, we're ensuring that every child in Ukraine can realize their right to safe water, adequate nutrition, and a healthy future. Thank you again, and I'm looking forward to keep our interagency collaboration to ensure healthy food systems, sustaining adequate water and nutrition for children in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriele. And indeed, you've brought the discussion around to the linkages between safe water, health, and with a child-centered approach also. But to continue this discussion and exchange, last but not least, I would like to, I'm very pleased that we are joined by Oliver Schmoll from WHO, from the European Centre for Environment and Health in Bonn. And Oliver, we know that WHO has been active for many years in developing guidelines related to water, including water quality. So how are these contributing to sustainable agri-food systems, food security, and overall health protection? Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you very much, Mary. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to contribute to this event, and big congratulations to everyone who supported the production of this very instrumental report. Well, in food security, it is important that water is available for irrigated agriculture and horticulture, and there are many different ingredients that form sustainable water management. And the use or reuse of wastewater is one of these options, one of the keys that can be played in the context of sustainable water management. And it is also, it is very clear, and many of you have already raised the challenges that come along with the increased pressure on freshwater resources, exacerbated by the effects of climate change, and we see more and more regions across the European and Central Asian regions suffering water scarcity or stress events where water is not anymore available in the amount that is necessary to serve all the competing needs in the local context, be it for agricultural irrigation, be it for supplies of drinking water to communities or industrial uses. So therefore, wastewater use is a viable adaptation option in the context of climate change and water scarcity, but it also goes beyond because it has major core benefits in terms of reusing and using nutrients, which are essential for having proper crops growing, particularly in contexts where nutrients are not easily available or expensive. But also there are also energy aspects that add benefits to the use of wastewater. Having said all of this, of course, on the other hand, from a health perspective, if wastewater is being reused unsafely, this poses significant threats to public health. And we have seen indeed outbreaks of disease that were caused by the unsafe use of wastewater. And it is really about that when we reuse wastewater, which contains pathogens and toxic chemicals, we can see severe health problems for farmers and their families, for example, for the local communities living in the area where there is irrigated agriculture with wastewater, but also for consumers consuming the product, but also, last not least, also sanitation workers who bring wastewater into the places where it is being reduced. So therefore, it is very important that regulatory frameworks are put in place at national and local levels that ensure the safety of wastewater being reused as part of a sustainable water management in the sustainable water management context. And these regulations should feature quality standards that are fit for the intended reuse purpose, considering human and ecological health as well, guide risk assessments and management requirements to manage the health risks associated with the disease agents, but also make clear recommendations on the barriers that limit contamination and exposure. So WHO's guidelines for the safe use of wastewater, excreta, and grey water that have been jointly developed with UNEP provide, so to say, critical benchmarks for agricultural use of wastewater, supporting the establishment of such regulatory frameworks I was just speaking about. And the implementation of these guidelines will help protecting health whilst supporting more sustainable and resilient food production practices by using wastewater. So these guidelines feature and are based on a risk assessment and risk management framework that covers the whole chain from the point of wastewater generation to the consumption of products grown with wastewater. So it's taking kind of an approach of managing risks along the entire chain. And it covers both the intentional use of wastewater, but also the unintentional use of, for example, fecally contaminated fresh water that is being used for irrigation purposes. It comes with clear guidance on health risks. It explains the health risks that come along with irrigation from and use of wastewater. And it promotes a step-by-step risk-based management approach, which we call the sanitation safety plan approach, which provides kind of a managerial tool both for wastewater managers as well as for local communities, as well as from farmers, on how the application of wastewater in agriculture for agricultural purposes can be kept safe. The guidelines provide best practice recommendations and minimum requirements for health protection measures for different target groups, workers, consumers, and local communities, and as well the minimum requirements for wastewater treatment, possible crop restrictions that shouldn't be irrigated with wastewater, as well as application techniques and associated hygiene practices when it comes to the processing of the crops. It further features monitoring requirements as well as social and economic aspects that are related to the reuse. So in a nutshell, these guidelines provide a kind of a scientific point of reference of health-based guidance to make the reuse of wastewater and other waters safe. And I think this is an important cornerstone also in support to SDG target 6.3, just as a recall that encourages countries to substantially increase recycling and safe reuse of wastewater by 2030. That's an enshrined target in the SDG in the 2030 agenda. But if we go that avenue, we will also need to make sure at the same time that the reuse remains safe. Final sentence, since Marco has spoken about the Water Convention. Hello, Marco. I also want to highlight that one of the offsprings of the Water Convention, the Protocol on Water and Health, has prioritized also wastewater reuse as a key priority for the forthcoming program of work and for the coming 3 years, as we see more and more being a reality across the region. And thereby the protocol provides, I think, a very good opportunity for mutual exchange as well as peer-to-peer support in making wastewater reuse a safe solution. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you, Oliver. And indeed, if further information and the references for these very important WHO guidelines on wastewater quality and reuse, which is very important, are included in the flagship document report today. Let me thank all of our panel members for your dedicated time, for being present with us here in Geneva, and also our panelists online for really, again, bringing some more life to what is already a lively publication, but real-life examples really do bring it more into life and give us further context. So now, considering I've gone a little bit over, so thank you for. And it is my pleasure now Belgutu for some key takeaways or home takeaway messages after such a rich discussion. Thank you, VRL.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks a lot, colleagues. I am strongly convinced, especially after today's presentation, that this regional overview is a result of a collective effort. And you could see how many agencies have been involved in preparation of this report and also in today's event. This is very encouraging, I would say. The report revealed that in the past 20 years, food security and malnutrition has improved notably in the region. We all heard about that, and it's still alarming because we are comparing us with other regions, but also we see the high level of obesity and overweight, which is another pattern which is not looking good in terms of health of our nations. But because this report was focusing on water security as the main theme, the 2024 edition highlighted the water sector's interlinkages with agriculture, food security, and nutrition. And it confirmed that we need water security to have food on our plates. Moreover, water security is a catalyst for transforming the region's food and agriculture sectors to become more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. I believe it is safe to say that the members of the issue-based coalition on sustainable food systems for Europe and Central Asia are continuously committed to supporting the region in achieving a hunger-free and water-secure future and realizing the Sustainable Development Goals. And as a final word, let's indeed make it as a joint effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, VRL. Marco, would you like to have a
just to add
follow-up
something.
word? Thank you.
A joint effort. I spoke for ECE because it's about water, but all the work was done by our colleagues from Economic Cooperation and Trade Division. They are the ones to work on agricultural standards. I would like to thank them.
Well noted, and we also thank them. Thank you for highlighting that, Marco. So with that, we can close the session, encourage you to all go online and look for the video and look for the just recently launched publication. Thank you again. Have a good day.